sucker?
Oh, we
Well,
know.
we're waiting on me.
Oh.
I haven't heard back from him.
Mhm.
So,
Oh, that's fine. If he
If he
texts,
shows up, he shows up.
yeah, because I know he lives around here, so
Who is
if he
it?
shows up.
if
Willie,
you come,
Willie will.
hit Trey's
You've
phone
been here
or
before.
mine.
I believe you.
You've met him before.
You know,
Will?
I don't be remembering stuff.
Huh?
Yeah,
You talking about Will?
Yeah. She's, yeah.
I
I
asked,
remember.
Like,
That's when we were talking about Will Smith. I think that's when this slap initially happened. He
Yep.
was sitting on the couch
That
with
is
you.
true.
Hey, let's go. I liked him. That was fun.
You are tuning into the Black People Podcast. The whole crew, well, part of the crew is here. We got a special guest, Joy.
To
Hey,
the world,
Joy.
hi.
the Lord has come.
Okay.
She said she was going to tap dance for us.
She did. She said she was on point.
Well, I am.
she
So
said
if I
she-
need to do a little, shuffle, a little 1-2, I got
She
you.
said,
Okay,
Come on,
okay.
too.
She gonna be joyfully Hines.
you know,
Let's do it.
So what is it that you do, Joy?
Besides tap dancing,
Yeah.
Besides tap dancing.
I'm an author. Currently have 2 published books out: Daily
Nice.
Dose of Joy, as well as Double Dose of Joy.
Nice.
nice.
Thank you.
Where can we find those books?
On Amazon or my website, joyfullifecoaching.org,
You
Let's
be
go.
slinging them
That's
out the
right.
trunk.
or my purse. I got some right here.
That's the
So
thing.
Preferably
When
through
I,
her.
When I said
That's the
joyful
thing.
Hines, I wasn't that far off. I thought I was reaching. But
no, not at all.
Okay, we just gonna get into these topics because we're gonna try to get out of here at a good time. First, Joy, we always start off with a question from the wizard.
Okay.
It's this wizard that comes and asks us these stupid questions, and it's always to forget us to think or whatever. And the question today is, you have a choice. Either you eat your least favorite food once a day for 5 years, or for 1 year, every time you talk, bubbles come out of your mouth.
I'm taking the bubbles. I gotta eat good. Like
That's
everybody knows, I'm eating good no matter what. So give me bubbles all day.
So every time you talk,
What's
so
the-
you can
what's the-
hear what I'm saying
what's
audible.
the-
There's just bubbles preceding
do
it.
you like money or something?
I didn't
or
even
do
have
you
any
just-
questions. I just know
Nope,
I gotta
every
eat
time
good.
you talk-
So,
Right, no, I feel that.
Every time you
Right.
talk, every time you talk.
But they're not
I'll take
audible.
the
All right,
bubbles.
question.
But they're not-
Follow-up question. Do you have to eat the one thing that you don't like by itself?
No, you can eat it with the other food. You just have to have it.
I'm taking what I don't like.
not me. I'm bubbles all day. Call me
I know what I
bubbles.
don't
Well,
like.
I'm Putin bubbles
You know
if
what
I
I'm
got
saying?
to.
It's broccoli.
Shoot.
That's hilarious.
I
Come
know
on.
I don't like broccoli, but if I could throw some little, you know what I'm saying, some meat and
Some cheese
some
on top of that.
cheese.
bad boy?
Oh, it's a thing. We're going to do it once a day.
Where
Oh,
does
we
broccoli
gonna do
even come from? Where does broccoli
I
come
don't
from?
know.
It's,
little-
it's created. They
Exactly.
it's-
So now you're
it.
eating nasty, created food.
It's like what would you call Cornish hen? You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? It's like a small version of a tree. You know what I'm saying?
That's
That was, you know what I'm saying? So it's
Make it
premature
make sense.
trees. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.
No, they
Wow.
they created it from some. There's a plant
a
that
hybrid or
they, yeah,
something.
from a certain plant.
See, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So again,
I would
Bubbles
take the
sounded pretty
bubbles
good.
as well.
It's cool.
Really?
Give me the bubbles because I want to
I
eat
agree
good
with
as
that.
well.
But
Okay,
what
we
you're
at
saying
the
is not
table like
audible. It
this.
sounds like
I don't care
No,
if I've
no,
ever
the
heard again
bubble-
in my life.
The bubbles aren't audible, but every time you talk, so if you said, "Hey, how are you doing?" Bubbles would come.
But can you hear me ask, "Hey, how are you doing?" Or do I sound muffled?
No, you hear the.
So I am audible.
Yeah,
just
you're audible. You just
bubbles
gonna,
proceed.
you
That
just
might be
gonna-
good for business.
Is
That might
it-
be some joyful shit for
Is
real.
it-
See,
Bubbles.
here we go, entrepreneur.
Is it off of syllables, or is it just off of words?
It's at the end of the sentence.
Oh.
So-
So you
If
If you
say
said hello, bubble.
Hello.
Oh, okay.
If
That's
you-
kind of fly.
Oh,
If you said "Get the f out of my face," bubbles.
Ooh.
so you can't take me seriously.
Listen.
Never.
Exactly.
Somebody is about to patent that and do that.
Okay.
Yeah, if your breath stinking, that bubble popping for somebody's face.
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
Oh, heap of trouble.
But here's the thing: I like to. I don't want to eat what I don't like.
Yeah.
Same. And
That's
I
why I
need
said
to
I'll
be
take the
like
bubbles.
this.
And I
eating
like to.
steak,
And so it's
everything got to be
one
good.
time a day, every day for 5 years.
For 3 years.
For 3
For 3 years, once
said
once a
five.
day.
You said
Oh, I didn't
five.
say. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
You
sorry.
did say 5.
Three.
So it's
I
one
said
time.
3
So it's
years.
not every meal. It's I don't like tomatoes. I just have to make
I
sure
don't care
that
if
my
it's a
dinner
date.
You'd
has
have to.
tomatoes in
Like-
it.
Here.
Yep.
In it.
One time a day.
My thing is, everybody who want to eat healthy, they're eating shit that they don't like in the first place.
Oh,
So
I
I
do.
mean, you know what I'm saying? Like
Okay.
one time a day,
Mm-mm.
I can eat some made up trees.
I don't
know.
mind
I
some
would-
healthy stuff. I like. I'm carving it out with lobster tail. Okay, so high protein Atkins.
So how?
Right.
So the bubble thing. How long is that? 5 years too?
No, that's 1 year.
Oh, Oh,
I
man,
get
we can do the
peas.
bubbles, and that's only 1 year.
Yeah.
Bang that out,
That's what I'm saying.
and you can still understand everything I'm saying. I'm able to get all my points out, and I can still eat any and everything I want to do.
Yep.
That's an easy sentence.
Mm-hmm.
But then you become a
Party trick.
Yeah, you
People
become a
start
party trick.
Hello,
You show up
a
to
joyride.
places.
People start to
Like-
hire you like, hey, can you come to my birthday party? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like,
Now you're making money. Okay. That's
I
more
don't think it's an
reason.
issue.
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
think I could do it.
Would it change it if I change it to pudding
Yeah.
come out of your mouth?
It's only for 1 year
Pudding.
though. It's
Pudding.
not even consistent.
Like projectile.
Pudding.
So I'd be able to say my sentence and then projectile.
Oh yeah, that's disgusting.
That's not now. Bubbles at least is cute.
Yeah, right.
Projectile
Cute.
pudding, not cute.
Or like peeling like a drool.
That's
like
not
the-
it.
Came
That's
out.
not
A
very
drool might be
ladylike.
sexy. Hey,
It
guys.
ain't.
Hey, daddy.
Depending on who we
That
talking
ain't
to.
it.
What? I'm drooling. What? Come here.
That's funny.
Yeah, your dad is autistic.
Yeah, no, listen. If we were doing
No,
pudding,
he
I
didn't.
absolutely would take the meal. But bubbles, I could probably bang that.
But what
out.
if it came? Okay. Let's say for
We're gonna keep
instance.
changing it. I'm
No,
gonna
but
need
no,
the
I'm
smoothest
gonna
break of
change. I'm
this
gonna change this
okay?
part. What if it doesn't come out when you eat? I mean, it doesn't come out of your mouth when you talk, but once a day it comes out of your ears. It don't. It's unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out of your ears.
Same.
And it's
I'll still
bubble
take the
still?
bubbles.
And no, the pudding.
It's pudding
Oh.
out of my ears randomly.
Pudding.
throughout the
Or
day.
yeah.
But it's
I'm
only
old
one
school.
time.
Put cotton balls right there. Put some cotton balls.
And once
right
it comes
there.
out, we're done.
It has to come out though.
Oh.
You can't block it.
Okay.
Any random time.
Yeah.
I'll still take that.
Over
I'll
the
still
food.
take the pudding.
See,
yes.
that's hard because I.
What
I
are you
have a-
talking about? You about
And
to
you have a very odd
you
appetite
out of all
in you.
people are going to have something that you don't like to eat.
He'd take
One
the pudding
time?
and just be having cups by his ears.
Right.
No, I would take the.
That
I think
sounds
I would
like-
take the
I'd-
food because I don't like onions.
Mm.
But if you put onions on something, I'll
On
just
a
be like,
burger or
okay,
something,
yeah.
yeah.
I'll be like, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah.
His time gonna be extended because they don't catch him picking it off.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Because he don't like a lot of food though. And
That's
he,
funny.
if you chose that option, you are gonna be an unhappy camper.
No, I'll be cool.
Give you all types of spaghetti.
No,
some
I-
baked
He's been
mac
training
and
his whole life for
cheese.
this,
Spaghetti
eating
now,
stuff
just
he
the
don't
kind we
like.
can trust. 'cause
No,
not
he don't
all
like no
types of
I don't like
spaghetti.
spaghetti.
Yeah, 'cause
He-
you can't trust everybody's spaghetti.
Yeah,
So I
he
feel you
don't-
Well,
right
you can't
there.
trust anybody's spaghetti.
Okay, well, I
See?
trust mine and the one I make, but I don't.
Even
He
if-
don't like.
sure
He don't
outside
even
the house.
enjoy. He don't even like baked mac and
Even
cheese.
if God was like, you can get into heaven if you eat this plate of spaghetti, a full plate of spaghetti.
And he
I
would
would
say no.
Well,
seriously.
that's the safe one. Ain't nobody blood in there but Eve's. Okay.
I would think about it seriously. I'd be like,
Ooh, but hell is an option.
I don't know if it was God's spaghetti. I think it'd be slapping.
Yeah,
though.
he
I
ate
think
it.
he'd
It's
have
good
the
enough
best
for him. Boy,
spaghetti
yeah.
ever. He got all the best products and everything.
I
I'm
got
like,
ears.
I
man.
have continually
He'll be
said
like,
this.
"What is this ragu?" He'll be like, "You ain't never had that sauce before."
I have continually said this. If it's a zombie apocalypse or any type of apocalypse, and they're like, "Oh, all we got is pasta, and so all we got is this to eat." You know how they have the groups of people like, "Oh, here's a shelter, here's food, here's the food."
Be rice and
I guess
beans.
I'm gonna starve.
You are, because it's gonna be like rice, beans.
Yes.
know what I'm
But
saying?
you
Right.
can make it up. You know, you'll find animals, shoot a squirrel, a rabbit. You know, I'm from Georgia.
Heck,
I've
If
you-
he
seen-
can't eat
can
regular,
you-
I was
you
just gonna
not-
imagine him eating a
You
squirrel.
gonna be seeing,
Yeah,
you gonna
you
be
ain't
seeing
never had
zombie
squirrels?
squirrels.
No,
You
no,
got
Trey.
there trying to.
Anyway, though.
Trey's food
So,
selection.
I get a squirrel.
Very,
I get a squirrel.
Yeah,
You'd
you
get a
got some
squirrel.
squirrel up in
He'd
that
be red-
pasta.
he'd
What
be
You
you
be
grandchild.
worried about you worried about
I would.
rabies now.
You
and
gotta
shit.
cook it. You cook it well enough. Just cook all that out.
Okay.
Cook
You
it
said
out.
cook it
I'll
out.
get
That's
no, he would
hilarious.
have to kill it, then skin it, and then cook it. I'm not sure.
He's smart. He'll talk
No, I
somebody
can do
into
that.
doing
I've
all
done
that
that.
for
I've
him.
done-
Have
That's
you?
hilarious.
Yeah, my dad. When I was
Yeah.
when I was in grade school and I was with him, we went hunting and he caught raccoons and a bunch of stuff, and
Oh, that's different.
I couldn't take the skin and it was nasty, but I had the food. I was like, it was
Can you
okay.
scale a fish? I done scaled
can
a
scale a
fish
fish.
in
That's not hard.
my day.
That's
I
not
I can
bad.
scale a fish. That's not
Yeah, I'm
hard at
down
all.
with fishing. That's
that
my
other
jam.
stuff. I can't do.
Yeah, the
Well,
fish
you
is
can't
not,
bait your hook. What you talking about? You can't do?
No, I said though I can scale a fish. I said, but other stuff like a raccoon or a squirrel, I wouldn't be able to skin that.
I said I like to eat good. Okay, so
What do you
by
bake?
any means
You-
necessary. We
you like
eat
live
good.
bait?
Huh?
You like you use
No,
live bait?
tie worm on there.
I can't do
Oh yeah,
that.
no, I can do all that
can't
with
do the
fish,
worm.
but like
Well,
I said, trying to
won a
skin an
fishing
actual
rodeo
animal.
back in the day.
I'ma do,
Catfish rodeo.
Okay,
I'm
I
gonna do
need some
shrimp.
catfish.
Just give me some bag of shrimp. Put it on there. Work just the same.
I need my shrimp to wiggle it just a little bit enough for them fish. Yeah.
If I eat some raccoon, it's gonna be from like the deep woods. You don't give me no city raccoon.
Nah, good
You
dirty.
got like rabies or something like that. You can't cook
They
that
eat
up.
garbage.
And they fat. You don't know where they been. They bold. The city raccoons.
I don't even
agree.
think there's raccoons in the forest.
Yes, there is.
No, but they all in Everett, so they can't be in the
He's
Yeah,
so
They're
bad.
walking,
That's
they
hilarious.
walk around Everett and
I
they
mean,
bold.
That's
probably
I
out
don't-
here, you know what I'm saying? In Oregon, they probably on drugs, but other than that, you know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
Lord.
The rest
That's-
of the country,
oh,
they probably
Lord.
in the woods.
They're
I
not on
swear, I have
drugs.
never seen a raccoon in the woods.
In Oregon,
No, 'cause
everybody's
they
on drugs.
all
They do.
in the
This is
city.
That's
the
not
thing
fair.
is that the woods is different too, especially if you're out there hunting. Like you ain't gonna see shit in the woods, especially if you're out there hunting. You gotta be smart. You shoot off one wrong shot and everything go to hide.
True.
All right.
Mhm.
True. So we can get to these topics. First topic is Chris Rock
Well,
and Will Smith.
let's do it.
Round 2.
Over it.
Chris Rock got to slap this time.
And he slapped.
Listen, you're a comedian, and comedians make a living off of making jokes off of their real life experiences. So I haven't seen the stand up yet because I've been slipping. It's me. I'm the villain. I'm always the villain.
Because technically, it's a black movie.
Cause I mean, hey, whatever. I went to a black-owned bookstore today. Bought a book. I was reading. I was being
Progress.
productive.
Yeah,
Okay.
progress.
Excuse me for not seeing the stand-up. But I mean, that's what they make their money on. I ain't mad at it. I heard that he could have done it better. Like I've heard some people say it was classless. I've heard some people say it was really funny. I'm just like, listen, this is what they get paid to do. They literally make comedy off of their real life experiences. People, they talk about their kids, they talk about sex. You were slapped in front of millions of people.
Yeah,
It absolutely makes sense that you want to go ahead and make jokes about it.
right.
Do what you got to do. He got broke off a cute little piece of change for it. I ain't mad at it.
Shoot, that was a personal attack. And
I
you can
believe
tell
it.
it was kind of classless in the end.
Okay.
Because he was calling all types of B's and blah, blah, blah. But
As long
It
as
is
it's funny.
definitely-
If you lose the funny, it's not.
it
no
wasn't
more.
as funny. But until he just, the way he was talking about, yeah, I'm talking about Jada too. And like, it was like,
That's funny.
oh, okay. He was being very direct and it was
Yeah.
definitely personal. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
I thought it was funny until then. I thought he, like they said, he fumbled the joke. I thought it just became too personal.
Yeah.
I do.
Still too
I
close
do
to
think that. I do think that in the black community we have a trouble with keeping the same energy. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we felt like what Will Smith did was a bullying tactic to a little Chris Rock.
Yeah.
And with the platform that Chris Rock has and the influence that Chris Rock has, that very end of that was a social bullying attack on a family that's already being dragged through the mud. I think he could have did it a little bit better and still got his point across, because I think we all wanted to hear from him about it
Yeah.
and see if he could make that funny, because that's the part of being a comedian, is taking the deep dark and making
Make
it
it
funny.
funny.
I didn't laugh at it. It was hard for me to actually watch the end of it because I was like, damn, this shit took a turn fast.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, no,
That's why I was like,
it,
hold on a second.
it was
but
so
still,
funny. No, it was funny. Like, he was clever. He was Chris
Yeah.
Rock. And it just, like, that last kind of couple minutes, it was like, damn, dude.
He was
You,
like,
you didn't
bitch
talk
this,
this enough
bitch
through
that.
with your therapist, Pip,
Yeah,
before
Right.
you came
But
out here.
sometimes
He
if the
didn't-
incident is still too tangible, it's hard to make it funny. Now we are talking from a place of personal and no longer, like you said,
He
now
was
you
talking
fumbled,
from a place of
right.
hurt.
Now you
Like, he
fumbled
was
the
hurt.
joke behind it being too personal. You should have waited an extra
I
month
mean,
or
he
two.
even talked about,
just something to kind of like make sure you were all the way over the situation.
Yeah.
but he even
Before
talked
you
about
went ahead
how
and
he
dropped
hasn't
those.
gone on any other shows.
Yeah.
He was waiting to do this for himself.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how, that he was still feeling the slap. Like, that's
Right.
how
Well-
hard he slapped him. So, I mean, I think that, yeah, he could have,
Emotionally.
yeah. So he wasn't over the pain. Like,
but-
he was still hurt, but he also wanted to get his licks in, too.
Yeah,
I feel it.
but
and make some money from it.
yes,
so.
but now you've contradicted everything that you stood for after the slap.
I don't
because
think, I
no-
don't think he
React.
contradicted
No,
everything
no,
that he
no,
stood
no,
for, though.
no. Because we all, you know what I'm saying? There was two purviews of him and his reaction to the slap. A lot of people said for the platform for that to happen on and his reaction, not to jump on Will Smith, not to swing back, not to hit, but to show some restraint when the world was watching.
Yeah.
We applauded that, and we were like, hey, as a black man, to respond like that when the rest of the world expects you to respond differently, we applaud that. And he rode that high horse until this
I'll
But
take
I
that.
still
And-
think he took the high road with it.
No,
Like, I
he-
still feel like
okay,
that was
I'm
kind
gonna tell you,
he
I-
could have been way more nasty about it. I think, like I said earlier, he was nice. He was kind of nasty about it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like he was still cordial and but it was.
I don't know.
He
He
could have
said like,
eliminated all the bitches.
he said,
but-
Okay,
You
he
call-
eliminated the bitches, but he was
Right.
mad.
But
When
what-
I'm mad, everybody's a bitch. Bitch,
Come
bitch,
on.
bitch.
Yes. Yes.
So, like,
Yes,
come on now.
yes, but how long ago did the slap happen?
What's
So
the thing,
I
right?
It
can't.
doesn't
My
matter,
whole
though.
thing
It's
is,
people who still mad about high school
I
stuff.
hear that,
Right.
but what I'm trying to say
Right.
is,
And
That's
rightfully
facts.
so, 'cause let me-
no,
let me
I
tell
no
you.
time out. I
Would it
hear
be me?
everything everybody's saying, but publicly he took a stance, and
But
so
he
what?
did it right.
Regardless
He didn't
on
do
what,
it till he got paid.
regard,
He
no,
could have been on TMZ
I-
slandering
I
him
hear
for
what you're-
free.
I
and
hear what
saying
you're
all the same
saying.
stuff for free.
totally
Right.
agree, and I hear what you're saying. But what I'm saying is publicly he took a stance to say, I'm not going to respond with that with visceral
Did
attack.
he, or is that assumed because he didn't say nothing? Is everybody assuming that and
I'm
putting him in
pretty
that box?
sure behind closed doors.
Because I never heard him come out and say, I'm not
Yeah,
going to do nothing.
I know when he came out and said, I don't really want to talk much about it.
Right now.
I'll address it when I have the time.
when I get my 20 mil.
Yes,
Come
and,
on.
and regardless of if it was 20 mil or whatever it was, he said he would address it, but the road he was taking was a path
The
of
road he was presumed to be taking. He never said, hey, you know what? I'm Michelle Obama. You went low. I'm finna go high.
I
He was
mean,
just in the back looking and watching,
at to a certain extent, he did, because
assumed
everybody,
he did.
no, because everybody that was in his corner was saying that is what he's doing. The people who knew him personally were saying that is what he was doing. He rode that high horse until the world was watching, and then he attacked. And so I can't give him.
But I don't think attack is the right word,
Okay.
though. Not to cut you off, but
Okay.
attack.
That's fine.
Not when the world was watching. He
I
attacked.
mean,
When the
that's
world was
fine.
watching, he got a chance to speak.
That's
because, like you said,
fine.
everybody else spoke for
Because
him.
We all
And
know.
now
he got to
So
change
got
the
the
if
narrative.
chance
we
to
get
speak.
to
It was-
if we
but
get
he
to
got
the
to change
point
that
if
narrative
we get to the
because it's
point and
his
we don't want to go
platform.
that dark, right? But we know that there are people in relationships that get physically attacked, right? We also know that there are people in relationships that get verbally attacked. And when you talk to those people, they equate the same, and sometimes people take the verbal attack at a higher threshold because it affects your mentality.
Yep. And the way
It's-
you move, your
And
decisions.
so the thing is that now we're saying, yes, he slapped him, and Chris Rock didn't slap him back. But now we agree with the visceral verbal attack that he has
He did mention that in
unleashed
But
there.
why
on
you gotta put all that sauce on
because
there,
that's
though?
what it is.
He
No.
reacted.
See, what we have to do as black people is start to hold people accountable because we
Who's
don't.
gonna hold Will accountable?
We did.
No,
We did.
didn't.
Do you
We
know
did
there was
not
a-
take it
there's-
on Will's
we
side.
did.
We did.
Did
We
we?
did.
Did we? He got
We
a
did.
smack
He
on the
went
wrist.
out and even the
Will
half-ass
got a
apology
smack
that
on the
he
wrist
gave.
and Chris Rock
The
better shut
half-ass
up. That's
apology
what
that
Will
he gave we said, guess what? He didn't even acknowledge Chris. We've held him accountable every step of the way.
He's been
We've called it
protected.
we've
He's
called
been
it bullying
accountable but
tactics.
protected.
We've called it bullying tactics. We've called it everything under the sun.
Didn't he lose movies and stuff behind it too? If I'm
We,
not
he
mistaken?
he's lost.
No, he's gotten
Yeah,
some.
he
they-
can't come back to the
Hold
Oscars.
on.
Like
Bad
what was
boy,
it,
Bad
Oscars or
Boys,
whatever
the
is
new
that?
one, the next one that they were working
Still
on.
Oh,
It's still on, but they put it
Still
on
on
hold.
No,
It-
it's off a hold.
No,
Now,
they put
but it was
it's
on
off a
because
hold
Will
now.
is protected.
That's not
They
what
put
I'm
it
saying.
on hold to make
That's
it
not what I'm
look
saying.
good,
They put it
but
on hold.
we still
I
gonna butt
get-
with you on the
I
back
hear
end. We
whatever-
got you on the back end.
I hear whatever you saying, but yet, like we still held him somewhat accountable for what he did. Every news media, there was not very many people who condoned his action. They called it ugly. They called it everything under the sun.
I'm
His
disappointed.
family's
This whole
his
thing.
That's
family.
what they said, but
his
he was
family.
still up. It was kind of celebrated.
Okay.
Like I don't feel like
okay.
he
I
really
don't
got.
disagree with you.
Okay,
and
no,
like
I know, I
said,
hear it,
there's
I
a
hear
way
it.
to do things. Like I said, when I started, because remember, I didn't see it, but there's a way to do things. And as long as you don't fumble the joke and it's funny and we can keep it funny, I'm here for it. But if it's classless,
Right.
then
It didn't start getting classless though until maybe like
bitches.
the last 5, maybe 10
because he
minutes
started
of it.
speaking from now an emotional place.
Yeah,
no
and then
longer
his
from-
voice kept on going like really weird
I
compared
mean,
to all of
because
his
we're,
other
we're talking
stand-up.
about a
Because
Uber-
now I'm
Yeah,
angry,
it
and
was,
now
like,
I'm speaking
really
from an
weird.
emotional
Exactly.
place,
Yeah,
and
I
I've
was like,
lost
what
my
is going
joke.
on with his
And that's
Because
what I'm
all
trying
of
to-
the anger that I've been
Exactly.
trying to play this high
Exactly.
because I've been
Right.
pretending. Because here's the thing:
Pretending.
we love to say
Thank you.
I'm taking the high horse, and like you said, all of his friends said we're taking the high horse. You pretended to take the high horse.
Yeah, because
And
you
because
guys-
and
But
now
then
we're
he
here.
pretend.
Let
me
He
say
did.
this,
Might have
though.
just
But
here's
told
the
him
thing,
to
you
shut
guys-
up, and they
which
was
is
just
fine,
saying that
but
for
again-
him.
but
which
that's
is
why he.
fine. But
That's
again,
why
now
Can you
we're-
guys imagine how much like backlash Chris would have gotten or had gotten that nobody else
Right.
knows about being a little bitch, not responding, not reacting.
But he's
you know
never
how
been
much
that.
he probably
he's never been the action hero. He's never.
mean,
he's
but
never
people-
been
he wasn't
that
trying
guy.
to be
but
the
people-
action
but
hero.
people
though,
said
right?
that, but
he
people-
was just for him to just defend himself.
But there were hold on, but time out, but time out, but time
No,
out,
I'm
time out.
saying defend
Hold
himself.
on,
as far as in
let's not do
words,
that
like,
because
show
there
up
were
for
people
himself. But he
out
did
there
mention that in
there were
the
people
stand-up,
out there
though.
that had the opposite narrative that Chris Rock was a sucker for not doing something, right?
Yeah.
And every time those people stepped up, somebody came back and was like, "Oh, so you don't say what was Pookie from New Jack City going to do?" Like,
Right.
you know,
He
seriously.
said
No,
that.
let's be real. No, like
No,
let's
'cause
be
that's
real
it.
because that's what
He
was
did
it.
say that in the
So
stand-up,
people
though.
That was
funny.
because we have this history in America. It's not just black people. We have this history in America where it's like you see somebody at distress and people at droves come to protect that person. So what we were seeing was somebody who was defenseless, who somebody else, like he said, has selective outrage. Because if it was 50 Cent on that stage when Will Smith walked up and slapped him, I think not. Let's be real. Let's be real.
No, and I get
I
that.
think he would. I think he would have had a second guess.
And I totally
50 got shot
understand.
9 times.
I
You ain't just about to walk up and slap this man.
I
Let's
remember
go up.
Cameron saying once. I don't know if it was. Could have been on the phone. You know, we talk a lot, so I don't know if it was here on the phone. But he said.
Oh, so you talked to Cameron
First
on
of
the
all,
phone.
first of all, that's
Oh,
my
none
best-
of us.
Oh, no, none
Right.
of us.
None of us.
That's my best friend. Don't
Yeah,
get
no,
twisted.
yeah.
That's, so I go to war for shorty. So, but at the end of the day, like he said once, he was like, when men deal with men, after we size you up, we always know that there's almost always a threat of imminent danger. We know when we deal with each other, he can or cannot fight back.
Yeah.
And am I prepared for what may come?
Right.
And so you guys tend to move around each other differently, whether good or bad, just because you know that as a man, there's a level of aggression that may or may not come. And so, like you said, with the 50 Cent,
Oh, he picked his
whoever,
battle.
but he picked a battle because we all know Chris Rock is half his size.
Yeah.
He's about half his weight.
Right.
And he's never been a fighter. That's never been his character. That's never been who he's been
Well, he
portraying
fought-
himself to
But
be.
he doesn't
All of
necessarily
that.
need to defend him physically.
Well,
I'm
he
saying
fought-
defend
Words. And that's what
himself
he did
through
until he
words.
waited.
No, I'm
He-
saying like
he fought
be-
in,
right
Head
when
of
it
State.
happened.
Fought in Head of State.
No,
None of his
but Chris Rock
actors,
Chris
that's
Rock has
never
built
been
his
like-
whole
never been.
Chris Rock has built his whole career off of being humiliated.
Correct.
Yeah.
Let's not
I can see that.
let's
There are
not
extras,
act
yeah.
like that's not the thing,
that's his
right?
role.
And so that's why I'm trying to help you understand is what we saw, and that's why he's an uber professional.
Well, he
I have never, and unless he's never admitted to messing up a joke. So unless it's happened and he's just kept it going, he's
Before
never
you let
admitted.
him show
That's
you
how
out.
you knew how personal he was walking into it. Because he even in live time, he said, "Oh, I screwed that up,"
Yeah.
because you knew his focus was gone.
So
he
that's
was
different
on,
with bad intentions.
well,
Like if his
well, he
intentions
also-
wasn't right, that's different.
That's what, and that's what
also
I'm
said-
saying.
Words and lines
You
between
know,
emotion and
you know his
comedy.
When you
intentions
put
at
it
the
like
end
that,
of
that's
that.
not okay. Like if
No.
you're doing anything with bad intentions,
And that's what I'm
right.
saying. And that's how you know at the end of that, all the intentions were bad. It wasn't about the craft anymore. It was about, I'm using this platform now to get payback. After I done stood up and I said, you know what? I ain't gonna fight fire with fire. And I don't care if he verbally said it. He said it with his actions. By not saying anything, by not fighting back when you were physically assaulted, you said everything. By not pressing charges, you said I'm working to get past this because I know I can't respond back that way. And the world is looking at me. And then what you did was double down because when the world was watching again, you took and you attacked. I don't want anybody to think of it less than that because it was an attack. That's why you see him fumble the bag, regardless on what you say.
He said like a month after, he said, "I'm not gonna talk about it unless I'm getting paid." And this is a perfect time for
He got
him
paid.
because he got
Right.
paid.
But that's
But-
still kind
but
of different
that's what I'm
though,
saying.
because like you said,
I'm not saying he couldn't
intentions,
talk
and
about
picked
it.
because if he would have went on
Exactly.
stage
Yeah.
and Will smacked him and he would have fought back and lost,
Yeah.
then that would have been different.
Yeah.
So
But like you said, he stayed quiet and didn't do nothing. He didn't fight back at that time.
No.
He waited to fight
Waited.
back. So
It reminds me, I remember maybe it was last year when
And he
Monique
waited
had
till
went
all
on
the-
that whole
everybody
like
rallied
thing
behind
about
it
DL.
to do it.
And Monique had went on that stage and she was slandering DL about all of this stuff and not being paid and all of the thing. It now crossed, I remember we had talked about it then, it crossed the line from now comedy
Yeah.
to personal.
Yeah.
And so again, I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but it almost sounds like he crossed the line
Yeah.
from
but,
comedy.
But people
Well,
were
that's
people were
personal.
getting on Monique about that.
And they did. No, they
People
did. She got right for
people
that.
dragged her through the mud for that.
And
It was
so
like
why
that
are we
was a
gonna-
hella
But that
personal,
has,
Monique.
this
And
has
so it
nothing to
looks
do with
like-
comedy. He just happens
It
to be.
did
No,
have
but
everything
but
in
that
comedy special.
but
It had nothing
Monique's
to do with
but
comedy.
Monique's
She
didn't
still
have
left it there.
Monique's was very personal
Very
too.
personal. And so she crossed the line
and she
in the
did
middle of
that.
a stage, in the middle of a comedy
yes.
So
show.
now
And people
are
were-
people like
and-
disguising beef as comedy? Are
Yeah.
they like
They
beef on
all-
stage?
and
that's
People try to
exactly-
not be
exactly.
emotional.
Stab,
Right.
Oh,
Exactly.
it's a joke. I'm
Because
just joking.
people
Exactly.
try to
Yeah.
not be emotional.
Exactly, because when you look at it, right, you have like when you talk about the Monique thing, and the reason why they called Monique out because they were like, okay, you got booked to do this comedy special, and all you did
was like 3
was
jokes
talk about your beef
and
against
bash.
DL.
Yeah.
You had no jokes,
Yeah.
You
Right.
went
and you
get
were
it off
mad
your
at,
chest.
she was mad at the crowd because they wasn't rocking with her, but you
you
ain't
ain't
got no
said
jokes. You
nothing.
just this offended
You ain't said nothing.
now, what I can say to Chris Rock was he was
At least it was funny.
he could well
Yeah.
he was like it was like I don't nobody probably you guys probably don't know, but there's this football player. He plays for the New York Giants. His name's Daniel Jones, right? They call him Vanilla Vic, right? 'Cause he's a white boy, he can run, right? And he's quarterback. No, and there was this one play when he was early on his run. He's going for like this 80-yard run, and he's running, and he's almost to the end zone, and he trips. You know what I'm saying? Right before he gets there, and people were like, "Oh, he's running too fast, and he tripped over his own feet."
These
Not
are
a
sometimes.
football comparison.
I love football.
No,
comparisons.
but
I
what
can
I'm
follow
saying
it.
is
No,
that
we
this
trying
is
to follow this.
no,
Yeah.
no, but this is what I'm trying to
Is it-
say
yeah.
is that Chris Rock he had something that was amazing. He
Yeah.
was
And then
he was
some
on
of
a
that shit.
run in that show. He was like, I'm in there dying. I'm in
Yeah.
stitches. And when he fumbled that joke, I was like, you know what I'm saying? And I started to listen more closely, and that was him tripping
Yeah.
right before the goal line. He could have scored,
couldn't catch
and he
it,
could have
couldn't
had this piece that was uncontroversial because now he could have said, people would say he addressed it, and it was funny, and it was tasteful, and he showed class just like he showed at the Oscars. What he showed was this is how niggas act.
And I'm
That's
still
what he
angry,
showed.
And,
But
and
then
I'm
trying to
still
cover it
mad.
up and say, I got parents. I know not to act whatever in front of
Yeah.
white people. So it was kind of like back.
It was
That
a
was-
backhanded. It was a backhanded.
It was real
But that
twisted.
literally was the last thing he said too, and then
Well, then this ain't what we saw on Everybody Hates Chris though.
What you mean?
We didn't see this Chris on Everybody Hates Chris.
But that's
I
what I'm
mean,
saying. He
that's
made a
a
fortune
scripted
off of
show.
being humiliated. That's
Yeah.
what everybody case Chris was
That's true.
humiliating Chris.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he used his, and
And
that,
all of his roles too have
A
been
lot of them
humiliating.
have.
but,
Yeah.
but the best comedians use their biggest deficiencies to their advantage. That's
Right.
what makes it funny, because if you can make yourself funny, you can make anything else funny, right? And so I get that, but I think I just
Yeah,
think
because
went a
he
little
had
too
some
far.
clever jokes in there too,
Yeah.
though.
And I
He
love a good
did.
clever
Like
joke.
He
it
did.
was
love when he
different.
Like when he was talking about-
until all the bitches got me. I'm like,
But a Snoop Dogg
Same.
joke, you know what I'm saying? Where you talking
Yeah.
about, oh, Snoop
Yep.
Dogg even selling reverse mortgages, and he did
Yeah.
all that, and he was like, oh, I ain't mad at Snoop Dogg. I don't want another mad rapper. That was
Yeah.
that was his jab at Will Smith, but
Yeah.
it was
Hilarious,
clever.
actually.
It was
we had
clever.
like 3 of those.
I don't want
Yeah,
another
with
mad rapper.
Jay-Z,
Exactly.
that was another one with
It was
Jay-Z, that
very
funny.
clever. It was funny. If you were a comedian savant, you knew
Yeah.
what that was at that point. That was him addressing the issue, saying this dude with the selective outrage. This dude went way far across the line, right? Once the B words came out,
Yeah.
it just became this whole vengeance fest, and I was off the board for that. And
Yeah.
I felt like
Yeah.
I feel
What you
like
thought?
Netflix should, if they would go as far to edit a fumble joke, I think that they should even go as far to edit that part out of
But
it.
I don't think they will because they never
they know that's
edited.
what's
Of
wrong
course
with
they're
the
not
people.
going to.
Because I feel like he had to do something similar to Chappelle, and since Chris isn't controversial with certain other groups, this other part with him, he had to have some type of controversy to be like, for them to be like, hey, maybe y'all should take that down.
But this
Nah,
is
we're not
why-
gonna take it down.
But it's not what Chappelle did.
No.
Chappelle's was controversial, but it was also class, and he also was
No,
very
that's true,
strategic
true.
about how he
Yes,
did.
yeah.
You seen what he was doing, even with the visceralness that was coming towards him from this one community. He still
But that's on
used
brand for Chappelle. We
Yeah.
have to remember.
no.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's-
on brand for Chappelle.
But even with Chris Rock, this is off brand for him.
Yeah,
Right.
that's-
And so
yeah.
like
all the bees and stuff. Yeah,
all
that's
that.
off
Even
brand
when
for him.
even
When
when he
Chappelle is
divorced
known
his
for
wife,
this. Yeah.
he didn't use his platform like that. And his divorce wasn't the best.
He never talked about her. He talked
No.
about losing money.
Yeah.
He talked about the other things around it.
So we can't say he always uses his platform to show his pain this way.
Right.
He's been able to use the art to show his pain in a classful way. This just wasn't it, and,
Right.
and
Well,
we
not
and,
all the way anyway.
and we have to get to this point to where, and I think this is why I say have the same energy. There was people in that crowd when it was going where you could tell there was a nervous tension in there
Right.
when it got to that point, to
Yeah.
where people were laughing nervously because they were like,
It's not
"We
funny anymore."
supported you to this far,
Yeah.
and now we're sunk. We have to be kind of sunk in."
I gotta keep laughing.
Yeah,
We all went into
but
the sunken
Yeah.
space.
this is not where we should be at. You know what I'm
But-
saying? Like,
They've had
Should've waited
it's
2
a
months,
number
let
one
him get
hit
all the
on
way over
Netflix
it.
though.
It sounded like he was over the
Well, you shouldn't have did it right before another
actually,
Oscar.
he's actually not number one. I just seen it.
That's
He's
so
like
funny.
number 5 or something.
Because
And
Really?
talked
When
to
I
him,
last
yeah,
seen it,
no,
it was number one.
What was
I
number
actually
one?
just
What
looked.
was
At,
number
I just
one?
looked today. I didn't even look, but I just looked today. It was number 5. I
Oh,
was-
okay.
But I'm not saying, not knocking him. Like he did a good job. I think he did a good. I just think it was,
For
he
it,
could have did
that way
better.
sometimes.
for it being Netflix's first live show, I think they did pretty
I
good.
didn't
Like
If
it
he
did what
was
it was
hurt-
supposed to do. We're still
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah,
If he was
exactly.
hurt,
Yeah.
if he was hurt, I think he should have just did Gayle King. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sit down with Gayle King. You know what I'm saying? Talk about
That's
it.
what he said he didn't want to do.
No,
But he can't play the part.
but
He
what I'm
can't be
saying
the
is-
victim and the bad guy
Yeah,
with
that's
Gayle
true.
King.
Yeah.
He just the victim.
Cause she gonna say,
Like he did what
Yeah.
you said.
'Cause
Like
she-
he was the victim. He got everybody behind.
Yeah.
Now I'm finna pick a fight. What's
Yeah,
up?
but
Because I got my
yeah,
team
I
behind me.
just
Type
think that it
shit.
was.
You
I
know.
just think that
cause she
was
gonna ask
overly-
questions and be like,
And he gonna fuck
just
around and
think,
start
nah,
crying with
I
Gail.
just-
Like, now
I
he
just think it's
crying.
ugly, and he put us black people in a bad position. You know what I'm saying? Like we want to be in this whole awakening of how we're not supposed to be handling situations, how toxic masculinity has pretty much had a negative impact on the black community, and then he goes out and do this, and nobody's saying, you know what, Chris Rock, you actually was wrong. This was.
No, it's not.
And I think that we've done that. I'm not saying that people aren't saying that,
Right.
but they're also being drowned out by everybody and they're saying, I don't see nothing wrong with what Chris Rock is doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more people saying that.
Right, because a lot of people are behind him because it's like, nope, he has every right to be upset.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are kind of just like,
Yeah.
oh, well, it's funny to me.
Yeah.
He has every right to be mad.
And white people don't handle stuff like that.
Mhm.
They might sue you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, hey, you seen how Murdoch, how he handles stuff. So y'all seen Mr. Murdoch on there. They
be
shut
lying.
up his his son and his wife. So we don't want to handle stuff like white people. They get to killing people. So maybe that might not be the best
When
when
route
they
to
feel
go.
like they lost something.
Yeah.
That's
If
let's be
you get
right.
in their
When white
way, you
people
got
feel
to
like
go.
when white people feel like they lost something, they lose their mind. But other than that, like you don't see them publicly fighting like that unless it's a game for power. The only white people we see fighting in
Politicians.
is exactly that's it.
Oh, when they
that's
get
what-
nasty,
that's
they
the white
get the
people.
lion.
That's where you see white people fighting politics. Other than that, you know what I'm saying? It's kumbaya, my lord. You know what I'm saying? On the surface.
And then be in privacy
You know
with
what I'm
their
saying?
ARs.
They getting
Yeah.
slapped in private. Like white
Well,
folks are slapping
that's
white
it.
folks in private,
Yeah.
like backhand.
well,
like
yeah, I think for black people, respect, like, and being disrespected publicly is different than
Yeah.
for other races,
It is.
for other people. Because for us, if all you got is your persona and that front facing thing for everybody else, if that gets taken down even a peg, for some people they're like, I'll risk it all, I'll lose it all because you did that to me.
Like, think about Taylor Swift when Kanye snatched the mic from her. What if she just snatched that big bag? I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? But you don't see that. You know, she kind of responded like Chris Rock. Yeah, everybody got behind her.
And just
Kanye-
started dropping songs.
Yeah, people were like, Kanye, you might have a point, but you was wrong. Shouldn't
Yeah.
did it that way.
Shouldn't have did that.
You know
way,
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and so, like, we have to get to this point to where we expect that from each other too.
Yeah.
Like, we can't watch everybody else do it, understand while they're getting ahead, and not saying we have to respond the same way. There's really not no black and white way to respond to things. There's just a right and wrong way to respond to
Yeah.
things,
I agree.
and we've adopted a lot of times the wrong way to respond, and have labeled it this black and white way of responding to things.
I can agree with that.
Because if Will had approached him and hit him behind closed doors, where nobody could see in front of no cameras, and then we heard about the slap now from Chris, we would be like, oh, okay.
It'd be different.
It'd be way different because we'd be like, okay, Will did this kind of move, like it wasn't necessary.
Right.
You could have came to him and you hit him in front of everybody, and Chris didn't say nothing, we would have been like, okay, cool. But it's way different.
I'll tell you this right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Will whooped that ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, and I'm not, you know what I'm saying, Will might be taking on the path to taking the high road.
Well, when does it end?
I'll tell you right now, for me,
but it wasn't just
for
okay
me,
for Chris to
well, hold on,
respond.
time out. He told you at the Oscars, keep my wife's name out your mouth. You said,
who makes
hold
Will
on,
the end all and
time
say
out.
all?
And this is why I do have a problem with what Chris Rock did. Because when that happened, he publicly said, all right, sir. Yeah, okay. No mas. No mas.
Really?
And he literally did a special and went back on what he stood for when he said, you know what, I ain't gonna do it no more. You know, that didn't, you know what I'm saying? Will Smith just smacked me in the face. Now he doubled down and is like, you know what? Check this out. Forget what I said at the Oscars. Your wife's a and guess
talked
what?
about the
This
family,
and guess
everything,
what?
yeah.
Your kids is and you's a and Whoopi Goldberg says you's a and some of them says you.
Whoopi
He
now.
said because he's like the View said you's a and like I'm saying, and so now you going in like that. You after you've just you like I said, you rode this high horse. Because you ain't nobody got to know you riding a horse as long as you on it.
Yep.
And you've been on the horse.
Yep.
We don't got to hear from you.
Yep.
I mean, you could have came out and said, you know what? I kind of disagree. I'm still hurt with what everybody else said. So I disagree how everybody's saying about her. I'm not going to handle it right now. I'm going to handle it. It's just like if somebody picking on you and you want to fight back. You ain't going to just, go. You're going to pick your time. You pick your spot. You're like, all right, I ain't going to, but guess what? I'm going to catch him slipping.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so, but you've got a point to where you've admitted that. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think he's still not admitting. You know what I'm saying? He admit that he's hurt, but he's not admitting that I'm on attack.
Yeah.
Because that's why people aren't taking it like Chris Rock's on attack because he's not admitting it. He just did it. So we see.
So hypothetically speaking, if, like you said, if Will Smith comes for Chris Rock, let's just say he comes for Chris Rock just happen so have some goons or whatever, and they hurt Will. Who wrong, Will or Chris?
I think a lot of us, I think we're wrong because the biggest part of it that feeds into it is us. You know what I'm saying? Like we're the ones who make them famous. We're the ones that keep them relevant, and by having this like division on if he should have fought back or why you shouldn't talk about somebody's wife and the art of comedy and how to make it classful and classless and this division instead of saying, you know what, like, people do cross the line and we have to keep them accountable when they cross the line, regardless of what you do. We talk about police crossing the line all the time. We don't say, oh, well, there's police. They can choke hold or they can use these because they're the police. No, it's wrong. There's a point where you cross the line regardless of what your craft is. You can step outside of that mastery. And I think we have to keep you accountable. Will has played the, black man who's, superhero and can't do no wrong for so long. And he stepped outside of that mastery when he attacked Chris Rock.
That's his brand too. He doesn't step out like that. That was literally a ploy.
But that's what I'm
between him
saying.
and Jada,
But that's what I'm saying though, is like he stepped outside of that and we called him out for stepping outside of his brand. So Chris Rock should be called out for stepping outside of his brand. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. That's fair.
Yep.
We can go to this. Sorry. We can go to this next topic. Fox News, which is a staple in the black community. Every black household, every black household watches Fox News. Ain't that right?
Is that a joke? I mean,
Have you done a survey on that?
Yeah, it was like 85.
Is that
It was
true?
like 85-17.
Yeah,
Really?
I don't have cable. I think I do follow them on Facebook though.
People,
So what they
No,
lie
I'm just
about?
messing. I'm messing.
I was gonna say.
I was about to say, I
'cause,
am so confused.
but you,
Like,
what people don't
Because-
understand is that people,
All news is
I
lie.
do
you're
not.
gonna always like, just because you don't agree, and you may heavily disagree, that doesn't mean you shut it off the radar. A lot of
I
people
agree.
tune in. Like there's funny. There's this.
But
Go ahead.
let me give the. I'll give the preface. What the story is what the topic is like what should we do? How should we address, like, Fox News was lying the whole time during the election, after the election, during the January 6th, and on, they were saying outwardly, they were like, well, the votes haven't been counted yet. There's a ploy, and these people that stormed the Capitol were right to do that, and Trump is right to do this, and all these things. But in private, they were saying how Trump was crazy, how this was illegitimate, how these things were fraudulent, how they were covering things was going to damage their image and damage their trust with their viewers. And it only came out because they're being sued by
Dominion.
Dominion for 1.3 billion.
1.6.
1.6.
Okay.
And this came out in Discovery, because when Discovery happens, they're like, hey, okay, we need all of your text messages. All of y'all's text messages.
They got a text message from Alex Pfeiffer, Tucker Carlson.
To the tip top.
Yeah.
They got,
Rupert.
Rupert Murdoch.
Yep.
Like, they got all of them.
They got everybody's
Every
text
single
messages
one.
back and forth, group chats and everything.
But what's
So
crazy
basically, they were
is
reporting something they didn't really believe.
the
Yes,
crazy part
yeah,
about it
yes.
is these text messages. It's not like regular text messages. It's not like they was like texting on Saturday and the story came out on Thursday. They were texting the same day these stories were airing.
Yep.
So they were behind scenes, like on November 4th or November 5th, 2020. And they're behind scenes like saying, hey, because what they did was they announced that that Biden had took Arizona.
Yep.
And what happened was, once they did that,
They were the first
Trump,
ones to.
Yes, they were the first ones too. Trump supporters started coming at Fox News,
Yep.
sending letters, phone calls, all that, talking about how that's insane, right? Because you got Trump talking about how voter fraud, how they can steal the election with voter fraud. I'm saying, oh, that's insane. So now they're behind the scenes saying, well, we got to fix this because it's going to hurt our ratings.
Yep.
So they chose their ratings over the truth. And so on November 5th, as they're saying, well, this could hurt our ratings. This dude is bad for business, yada, yada, yada. Tucker Carlson turns around and leads into the voter fraud narrative, And so there's November 10th, 5 days later, and then they're texting about something opposite of what they covered, and all the way to January 6th.
Yeah.
They're saying this, and this is bad. This doesn't look good. He's dysfunctional. He's bad for the party. And then they go on air and they're saying,
he's a great guy.
and it was a tourist visit and nothing really happened. And they're manipulating the images because they're not showing you the parts of the videos where nothing was happening.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a lot going on. Even still to this day, they're still doing it because now you've built this alliance with the lie. And once you've built the alliance with the lie, you kind of have to roll with it because you can lose everything by going the opposite way.
A TV channel, the Fox News, not the channel, but the Fox News, posted and said what their viewers were going to like,
Yeah.
and the people who were saying the things didn't really believe the things. You know what that sounds like to me? Entertainment.
No, exactly.
No.
So it shouldn't be news no more because
It
it's their
shouldn't
election
be.
to their
No,
duty.
I agree.
It's their
But
election
also,
to
it
their duty as
sounds like
journalists.
that's what the media. Unfortunately, that's why a lot of people don't trust the news and the media all the time because of the
Right.
fact this is a
Because
thing.
a lot of
media
these
always
people
has
aren't-
an agenda.
I'm not
They
saying
always
it's
have
okay.
an
I'm
agenda.
just saying
Tucker
this is
Carlson,
a thing.
It was a lawsuit against him or against Fox News, and they mentioned him, and they said that his program had to be classified as entertainment
Hilarious.
because of the lies and the misinformation and just the nothing was true coming out of his mouth, and how it's just like
None of them speaks truth though.
It's not a news station. It's but the thing is, a lot of people.
It's a reality show station.
That's it.
Like
It's
what-
not.
like-
It's not that.
Kinda.
Like
Laura
reality
Ingram.
show, that's
Her name ain't
hilarious.
even Laura. It's Laura Ingraham. Like that's literally how you say her name.
Hilarious.
She on.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that
I
either.
didn't know
No, she's against immigration, but she has adopted immigrant children.
How?
This is no.
Make
Like these
that make
people
sense.
are liars
Yeah.
in nature. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's the
they're
politics.
pathological liars. They don't know when to stop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I mean, from Sean Hannity
Well, that
to
they don't know they can't stop because they're in too deep. If they
Of
was to stop, they would
course.
lose
Yeah.
everything. So
Of
it's not that they don't know.
course.
They can't. They're just in too deep.
It's
Like-
kind of like you change the view Like, hey, I was lying, but look over here.
Then it
just
goes
look
from a
over
lie to
here.
a gimmick. Now you're just pulling the gimmick and you just omitting some stuff, and it's just, and so they kind of make it right.
But allegedly, her dad was a Nazi sympathist. Laura Ingraham. This is serious. Out of the words of her brother's mouth.
Yeah.
Like, not nobody from a family member of hers, her brother, said my father was a Nazi sympathist. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so, I mean, they have this history
Yeah.
that they live by. You know what I'm saying?
Does she
The
have
rhetoric
children?
and all of that.
So
So
They-
basically, you're
immigrant
saying the
children? What
black
kind of cognitive
family
dissonance?
should not be watching this news station.
I think they should.
Well, I think you have. Well, it's true. You have to at least know what's being talked about in other places. I don't think you should.
Yeah,
Like
I
you
agree
go
to
to a
that.
lot of a lot of establishments once you cross Seattle and you start going north.
Yeah.
A lot of establishments will have Fox News on, and have older people watching Fox News just totally.
Because
Yeah.
it's rural town
yeah.
hit rhetoric. You know what I'm saying? That's what
their
it
audience.
is.
Yeah. And they talk about the things that people want to hear, even though they're not dealing with it.
It's like those type of white people are the new black people. And this is why I say it. This is why I say it. And when it comes to voting, and this is why I say it. A lot of these people weren't registered voters. They weren't voters. A lot of people who backed Trump, they weren't voters. Just like how
Yep.
Democrats every year try to figure out how to get more black people to vote that don't vote. That's what that ploy was, right? And so you can't tell me when you see these Trump rallies and you see these people wearing "Make America Hats Again" and they're chewing wheat and they're coming out in their four-wheelers and their RVs and all that type of shit, because that's the type of white folks that was there. Those weren't regular voters. Those weren't the people you usually seen at the Republican convention and all that. That's not what we were used to. This was a whole different demographic, and they were coming out in droves because somebody now that looked like them spoke to them. He was saying the rhetorics that they believed, even if he didn't believe it. And I truly believe he didn't believe all of that, but he was a great marketer to know where the untapped potential was, and so he tapped into that nobody else, there's no white, regardless on. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of senators, congressmen who know David Duke and are very tied into that and woo secretly. There is nobody who publicly could sustain a relationship or ties with David Duke and sit in the Oval Office. But he did, because there's a lot of people who voted for him who believe in the rhetoric of a David Duke.
Yeah.
And so that's what Fox News was trying to hold on, because they don't believe in that rhetoric, yet they know the people who are watching the shows and they're making
dumb
the
enough to believe it.
believe that stuff. They're the January 6th rush the Capitol people.
Exactly.
They're all those.
They got the
and
right
so,
ones mad. Like you said, the new black people, they putting that
Exact-
stuff into them, making them mad
exactly.
about nothing.
Exactly.
So yeah, they got the right ones, but that's crazy because Fox don't care about nobody, because they even putting that stuff out, knowing it's lies, but hey, they dumb enough to believe and let them go and do that,
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Sounds like entertainment to me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so entertained. Let them do that.
Listen.
What?
Sounds like entertainment to me.
But at what point do you say, like, some of these people are so far gone right that anything told to them they take as gospel, even if it's at the detriment to where they live? Because I was watching one of the shows and they were saying how Florida was super safe versus New York, and the person was on the show, was on the Fox News, and was like, well, that's kind of not true. Like, if you look at the statistics you look at the crime statistics, all of them say New York City is pretty safe versus the cities in Florida. And it's like, but the lady on Fox, she was just like, well, if you look at crime a different way, it's not the same. And it's just like, but you get people watch that and say, it's dangerous in New York. Yes, it's dangerous in New York, but also Florida's not a beacon of civilization. Florida's not a beacon of safety. It's not a beacon of economic.
But people believe what they want to, because and we see that all the time. That's why Cameron, we call him the stats guy, and it's funny at the time, but it's true. That's why he kind of lives by that space, because people hear what they want to hear. they hear, then that's why they go to the channels and they live in those echo chambers, and they live in that space where I want to follow the people that are going to sound like me, and I want to listen to people who sound like me. And yeah, you're telling me that New York is safer because that's what stats say, but also this is what's making me feel better.
Yeah.
So I'm going, and I think, I mean, I personally don't subscribe to it. I think that's an awful way to live your life. You can't just go with what feels good all the time, but also,
Correct.
but people do it, and they like living
Because it's
ignorance is bliss,
comfortable.
and it's comfortable. And if I want to move to Florida for whatever reason, and you're going to pretend to tell me that it's safer, I'm going to take your word for it, despite the fact that stats say
And it depends on what is
And it's
safe and what kind of
ridiculous.
crime. Because some people can deal with some stuff in Florida that they can't deal with in New York, and that might be safer to them.
Right,
you
everything
know?
is subject to
Yeah.
personal preference too.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, but I think we're just at a different stage too in society. Like you have more clashes of theologies nowadays because of access to information. It was like you're saying, how can a person go so far left? But as Black people, there was one point to where there was a certain history that white people told us in this country, and we held on to that. But how could somebody that's not part of your history tell you about your history? But we held on to that every single word to almost until people started to come out with facts that maybe defy that, right? And we're starting to see, there's a whole nother level to Black history when it is implemented in world history and American history, right? And so I think that we were, especially in America, as a world, right? We're not built to challenge authority. Right, and we're not conditioned that way. We're trained to go along with status quo, whatever it be. They say school is meant to industrialize people and get them prepared to go into the workforce, not to be free thinkers, but to think in a group mindset, right? You all learn the same curriculum. You all learn, besides the people who challenged it, and what? They elevated them into smaller groups, right?
Yeah.
But you didn't by the masses teach people how to challenge what they learned to become better. You taught them what I say is word, and after that, that's what it is. And so I think we've gotten to this point now with the information to where people are learning on their own and saying, you know what, I want to challenge that theology because I've gotten this information over here that defies what you're saying. And so I mean, now that's why you have like this situation with Fox News, right? Because now you have a group of people who are saying, regardless on what the theology out there is, we're going to give this theology because there's people who believe this, right? And it's going to bring us more money, and it's going to keep us in the good graces of the party that we think is going to take a power stronghold. Right. That's why everybody's hopping behind the Republican Party with the rhetoric, because if you didn't think that it was going to be a power shift, you would hop off of that and try to do something different, right? And so I think that's the idea of it. But at the same time, Dominion, they could take a personal hit, right? If this didn't go their way, if they didn't sue, right? And they probably still can take a hit, right? Because now this attacks the integrity of their voting system, right? And to be real, two things can be true. Voter fraud can't happen. Let's just be real. It's probably a fact that voter fraud did happen. At the masses that they were talking about it at, I don't think that is the level, but I mean, fraud happens on every levels, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's somebody who did maybe put in a vote of somebody who died somewhere. There are cases that have been prosecuted.
Like every single one of us
exactly.
do voter fraud.
And it wasn't. And so that's what I'm saying. They
probably a handful.
They made it seem
they
like
cherry pick stories and ran with
because it's like, it's like on a U.S. senator level. Like, our senator, they won, so those votes are good. But for the president, we got to take those votes back. We can't have that.
I mean, we do it the opposite way. Like we say, cops don't get prosecuted, for what they do. And I just seen a story where 11 cops in Ohio just got indicted, for.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And the mayor did it. The mayor did his own investigation and started turning cops over, and they're saying there's more to come. So I mean, people don't cover that, but I mean, you can go to. There's Black networks that are covering it because it does need to be covered, because I think we cover too much of the opposite side of it. I'm sorry, of it not happening. And, and cops not being held accountable. We need to show that there are cops being held accountable, so more people will hold cops accountable.
Yep.
You
And-
know,
and
but
not
if
be
we're not
afraid not to,
covering
yeah.
it, you know, there's this culture of saying, well, you know, that cop got off, so this cop should get off. You
We
know,
got,
and-
we got to do better with mediums. It was
Yeah.
like we can't show all the bad and never show any of the good, but then we can't show all of the good and never show any of the bad. We got to do better at mediums.
Yeah.
Where if
For
we just
sure.
show everything or cover everything, then we know, like you said, for every black cop, there is, you know, not black cop, but for every bad cop there that is persecuted, there's one that isn't. You know what I'm saying? Or for every newscast, yeah, you're not doing a great job with the news, but all of these news ones are doing good. We have to be able to do better jobs in mediums. Not everything has to be so
Cut
yes
dry,
and no.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be, it's okay. Let's do it.
that's why I say both sides should be told.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
both sides, we
Mhm.
need to do a better job with media and with balance.
Last topic, and we're about to get out of here. Tyler Perry might buy BET.
Well, there's that.
And he
Oh.
should.
I thought he already owned BET.
No, Paramount is looking to offload BET, and him and Byron. What's his Byron? What's Byron's last name? Byron.
Like I feel it, but I don't know, man.
Not
I
Byron
don't feel
Cage.
like I'm ready
No,
to just
I
see
forget his last.
House of Pain and all that all day.
That's what I
You know
thought
what I'm
y'all
saying?
had
Like,
in the
I'm-
Oval
like,
and
Right,
the
so
sister.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying,
like-
he's
Well,
gonna,
I
he's
don't
gonna bring
think
back
it's
the
gonna
music.
change like that. Like
I know.
everything
Thank
will be
you.
Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
That's what they said about Twitter, and now you see everything is.
I mean, I believe that if
changed?
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not
it's-
knocking Tyler Perry
mhm.
and the empire he's created, but I
Right.
don't think I just want to see you know, and he has so much content that he can do that, and I
But
just don't. I don't.
You
wanna
don't
see
think?
that.
I think he would.
I,
Hell,
hope
I
not.
think
I
he
hope
would.
he wouldn't do that.
But
I
when you
think he
own
would-
it, it's hard not to. You in charge. Who's gonna tell you not to? Why wouldn't you? If,
But he-
if
but
it's
I think
To
yours?
it
give
would-
other black people an opportunity to showcase their
No,
talent.
I think it would
Yeah.
give. I think it would give him a chance for that. I think it would give
Okay.
him a chance to stretch and
That's
say,
what I'm
"Look,
thinking.
I got
to
this.
bring the music back.
I got the studio.
I hope so. The
I
video
got
sold.
I got these lots. I'm probably gonna get more lots. I could do all these things with a network.
Right.
They already giving BT Plus.
Right.
You might as well just give them BT.
Right.
You know, I think it's cool to have black ownership, and you know what I'm saying, like especially take back something that we started, but
Come on.
at the same time,
I feel
know,
you.
I
agree.
just don't want to see.
I want a variety.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know
long
what
as
I'm
it's
saying?
gonna be
Bring
variety.
some shows back and
Yeah,
stuff
like
like.
Little Sister
you know what
Heart
I'm
video
saying?
sold.
Like,
Well, not
rap
only just that,
basement,
just
rap
like
scene in the
Amber said, to
basement.
have a platform for other black films and producers and.
But I don't
want to
sit and watch Love Jones on repeat either.
Yeah,
You know what
but
I'm
That
saying?
part.
Or
And I
Baby
don't-
Boy.
Come on.
Yeah, and I don't want to
Like,
just.
oh,
And I
Holiday
just don't want to
Heart.
see
I wanna watch
everything
the
that's.
black
I don't want to see
people.
everything
I don't
that's
wanna
just
just watch
produced
Love Jones on
by
repeat either. I
Tyler
want
Perry.
the
You know,
variety of things.
like
Yeah,
give
but
black
like
producers
action.
out there.
But we don't want it to be
Yes.
controlled because a lot of time black people buy stuff and own stuff, but it's still controlled. You know.
Well, I think this if he buys this,
There's not gonna let.
It's
He's
not-
not gonna let somebody control.
it's not. Yeah,
Yeah,
he-
That's the
he'll-
only thing that
he'll be
I.
He
controlling it.
purchases without any
No,
limitations
with him-
or restrictions. Yeah.
Okay.
With him, because of his path, because his path is ain't nobody finna control how I do anything. He's not.
Yeah.
I think he's came too far.
Wait,
to
wait,
He's
let
gonna
that
purchase
happen
that
anyway.
without any controls. He's gonna ask for no limitations and no.
Oh, no,
restrictions.
But I do think
And
that's
he-
his
if he
gift.
doesn't, if he
and
does
his
come with
curse.
then he will purchase it.
I
If
do
not-
think that's his
Okay.
gift and his curse. I do think the control part of it is the gift and his curse. And I'm not saying he doesn't employ black folks. I think I know he does, and I know a lot of black films are shot in Georgia now, and a lot of stuff is ran off of his lot. You know, we see a lot of productions going on on the mainstream media, and he's doing a
Correct.
lot there. So I can't say that he's not doing the work. I just think that he should create a bigger black think tank of when it comes to producing shows.
I think that's a good.
Yeah.
I think
and
that's
and,
good.
and, and,
That
and
is
more
a very
more
good idea.
ideas than just the Tyler Perry,
I
because I
agree.
think he started even in his eyes the type of stuff he does is kind of like typecast.
It's
To
the
where
same.
you don't think that he has a huge range
Correct.
of, you know, when it comes to it, all of it kind of looks the same. So if he's kind of like diversifies it from idea point, you know what I'm saying? I think he could have something on his hands.
And so I don't have an issue with him
So-
owning it. I do have an issue with him pushing shows I already don't care for on
Correct.
it. So, but if he's going to bring back the diversity, if he's going
That's
to
what.
bring
And
back
your idea
music,
of like
if he's
extending
going
that
to,
hand now.
yeah, if
Mhm.
it's going to, if BET's going to be what it was when I was 12 and 13, you know what I mean? If it's
Okay,
going to grow, if
rushing
it's
home
going to go
from
back to
school.
what we grew up with, I'm not anti. But if it's going to stay on the trajectory of, you know, I don't watch it anymore. You know what
Yeah,
I
me
mean?
neither. It's a
Or if it's
mess.
gonna, or like you said, he's just gonna pump all of his stuff on it, and now we're stuck to watching Pains. I don't know.
The
So
pages
I mean, I
It's
don't
not
think
to
that's
me.
what's gonna happen. I think
I don't
he's,
think it is either.
he wants
but-
a higher audience.
yeah,
Because
I think-
not
I don't
everybody
think it is
watches
either.
I think
all
I
Tyler Perry.
think he'll be
stuff.
able to elevate.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm
Like-
good with rebrand. I'm good with rebranding and elevation and,
Yeah.
and
Bring
evolution.
back Cedar's
of-
World.
Like I do
Yeah.
think that Cedar's
Pretty
World's
good
good.
thing.
See,
I'm
the
not
only
anti
she
at
only
all.
was on TV 4 times, and they
Yeah.
ran reruns the rest of the
I
time.
know, but
I felt Cedar's
Cedar's
World.
World.
I
Yeah,
love
but I
that.
do
I
think
love
I
you,
do
Cedar's.
think that we have to. I don't think it should go back to what we saw.
Okay.
I do think that there has to be an evolution of it.
I don't disagree.
I
with that.
do think there's aspects of it. Yeah, I do think music should be become a part of it because
That's
we've.
where it started.
Yeah,
the music
You know what I
videos.
mean?
That's
Like,
the music.
I mean,
bring
but
it, take that back to.
But at the same time, it's hard.
the
Let's
purpose.
be real. It's hard to do that with the independence in music now, and people
I'll take
having
it.
things like YouTube and things
I'll
like
take it.
that.
True.
So I mean, you have
But I
platforms to where people can go and see this stuff without having to tune in to your network. So it does have to be an evolution of it.
I agree.
I just think that he's already kind of dominated the wavelength of a BET to a certain extent without even owning it to
Yeah,
a certain
yeah.
point. And so I see ownership with him just maximizing that, and I don't.
Right.
That's not what I want to see, And we shouldn't just, like you say, see Love Jones and Brown Sugar and
We
like
need some new
stuff like that. Like
Right.
those are good to
You guys
have.
want to watch?
Those are good to
what
have,
is
but
it?
we
Get
should.
Out and the Thriller.
But yeah,
Oh,
no,
like,
I mean,
why not this and?
but why not have
You're
a
gonna have
Jordan? Why not have a Jordan Peele come in and be on your board? And
Right.
Yeah,
why not have
your board,
Ryan
I'm talking about
Coogler
Why
Jordan
not
come
Peele.
have
in?
a Why not have a this and? Why
No,
does it
yeah,
have
that's
to
what,
be
that's what I'm
or,
saying. Like when you
know?
have a think tank of how we're going to do this,
Give us some black sci-fi
Jordan
stuff.
Peele
Give us some black.
and Ryan Coogler, or
Yeah.
those, mix it up. We have enough black
You just don't
excellence
want
to where
to
we
bring
can
back
pull this
Tarantino?
off.
For sure. I like
No more
that.
Tarantino.
We
So bring
really
back
do.
the
Yeah.
YouTube cut.
We do.
No.
We have enough.
But especially
actors.
being in Atlanta, it's so much going on in Atlanta right now. So many people he can take up under his wings. So many people doing things right now. So
There's a lot of
hopefully-
people like doing really good stuff in Hollywood. A lot of black people doing really good stuff in Hollywood. I think that would give a lot more people a chance to do more different types of shows and show that the breadth of like black creativity on TV, on as internet shows and all these things. I think it would really give a good chance to do that.
Right.
But
a wider
And
range.
Netflix with that live Chris Rock show, like people aren't paying attention to it, but people should take hand to that. Like these
Yeah.
artists and stuff like that. Like if BET could tap into artists going on tour and eventually doing a concert where they're doing concert lives on their station, right? To where people don't necessarily always have to be in the building, right, to experience it. Just being in the building gives you a different experience
Or we
of
don't
it,
have
right?
to always go to Netflix. We can have an alternative.
Yeah.
Like, do
Because-
it live there.
Because even then, people went to go see the Netflix special. They were there in the building, right? But there was people who got a chance to witness it from a different aspect, right? It didn't equate to being in the building. At the same time, you got a chance to experience real time.
in real
You know what I'm
time,
saying?
yeah.
And so they can tap into that. Like people aren't tapping into that enough, especially with streaming platforms. We're not tapping into the real time stuff, except for on YouTube or all these other platforms. But I mean, when we have our own, we should be tapping into the same thing that everybody else is tapping into to make
pay
our mark.
attention, research, make sure that you can elevate when you do those. And I'm sure he definitely has the money,
But I don't-
so he can have the team.
I don't
behind
know.
him.
I don't know if he gets the deal though. Byron Allen, who owns the Weather Channel. He owns a couple. I think he owns a couple other
I know you're
channels.
talking about,
They're going up for it. So there's probably a chance he doesn't.
Why would he even
But-
want it?
What are you
Like,
talking about? He's got a big network.
yeah, but that's why it
but
would be smarter.
BET though, like
Byron Allen
Weather
would be-
Channel's BT.
But he's
Byron
already
Allen.
in the.
Why not? Money
He's
again.
already in that type of network space. Like
Yeah.
you got to think about Tyler Perry is just in the. He's not in the full production of running a network. He's
Right.
in the production of
Right.
making pieces, right?
Which is why he should take.
Byron
should
Allen,
get it.
Byron
Allen's
Allen
done
is
it
in
all.
the
He's done
business
it
of
all.
running networks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
it would make more sense especially with the money and power he has, because they are very, very competitive when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying?
don't
Like I'm
think
not
that
saying
that
that they're
should be-
personally competitive, but I'm saying when you look at it,
Yeah.
when you look at the numbers and all that type of stuff, they're very neck and neck with their influence and everything, right? By now it's just more of a behind the scenes, like influence.
What's his full
He
name?
could probably
Byron
do.
Allen.
If you
Byron
looked at
Allen.
it from, you probably say he could probably do a better job. My thing is, why are they competing? Why can't they just come together and say, you know what? We could, between you running a network and my production skills, we could have a monster.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Let's do
You know what I'm
it.
saying?
Yeah.
But we
That would
don't
be a
have
good
that.
idea.
We don't have that mindset. You know what I'm
would be a
saying?
good
Because
idea.
that's what the white folks do. They get financial groups.
That's
they
what
go in with
everybody
each
do
other.
besides us.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They go in with each other and say, hey, she's out. You get a piece of the pie, you get a piece of pie, you piece of pie,
Yeah.
and we all control this together.
Even,
so now it's
even
one.
when they
Because
don't
we
like
can't
each
trust
other.
each
Yeah,
other.
Even when they don't like each other, they
Right.
can have a kid
Yeah.
with the brother's sister, whoever. Like they don't
God.
care.
Like,
they
you-
come in
they
there
can
to
have
make
their
this
lawyers
money.
and
You
Yeah,
know
so they
what?
know that gives them some type of
And
independence.
whatever.
So
you
you-
know what?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you
the
handle
trust.
you
It's the
handle
trust
the
thing.
you handle the production. I'll handle the business side.
Yeah.
I'll get us the money.
Yeah.
You do your best.
Right.
He's good at he's pinching pennies to
Yeah.
make them shows. You do your best to
You
get
make
us
the
as
show. I
many
work
shows.
on
So
how
he
we
can
program. I
basically-
work on scheduling.
But the
I
main
work
thing
on
is
all
they can
that.
set stuff aside that they can see business for business and
Yeah.
other stuff.
He
Because
can
there's so much
basically
stuff going on
mentor
behind the
him.
scenes in the white folks stuff, and they still
Right.
put it aside
They
and make
do,
this money.
He
And I
can
don't
just
see why we
basically
can't do that.
mentor him and be business partners.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point
Because
of him wanting
everybody
to
wants to
get
be the first black person
BET,
to
so that he
to
can
get it back.
actually
The
the
do
first black
something.
person to
Because Robert, or you kind of want to go in the steps of Robert Johnson, who had BET
Right.
by himself. So
Right.
I can see that part too. You're like, well, I don't want to share. Robert didn't share. with
Yeah, but
nobody.
see the thing is, and I'll tell you this right now, why I feel like Tyler Perry, and this could be unpopular, why he could possibly hurt BET is because BET already had problems when it came to value compared to other networks because it wasn't getting the ad money that other networks was getting, even though they were getting competitive viewerships. And a lot of people don't know about like the behind the scenes stuff like that, because like when they sold it for like $3 million, and they left with no ownership in it.
Yeah.
But if they would have been able to get the equity in network value that other stations that ran comparable numbers to them, they probably could have sold it. They probably could have sold it for the same $3 million and still had ownership in it. But because it was valued so low, because most of the time these people who value them are white people, you know what I'm saying? Because it valued so low, they weren't able to say, I can sell BET and still have sell some parts of BET and still have some ownership to it. The price tag was way too low for him to sell, right? And so, I mean, I think with Tyler Perry, I don't know if he has the ability to get the ad dollars and know how to maneuver that behind the scenes to get the ad dollars to increase the value of something like BET. But I know Byron Allen does.
Yeah.
Like I know he knows how to make.
He
knows what it takes to create the value for it in ad dollars that you get from the government and all these ad agencies and things of that nature. And so that's the downfall because I mean, yeah, it's easy to pitch a movie and say, give me this budget for this movie, you know, but when you're running a network, you got to have commercials, you got to have all these different things, you know what I'm saying, to keep the bills running.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we weren't getting agencies that could pay the way that they should, because
And plus, BET for a while didn't want to do, after they were sold and Viacom bought them, we as black people did not want to see the reality shows like the Real Housewives of Atlanta, those type of hip hop, what is it? Those type of reality shows. We didn't want to see them on BET.
Sure don't.
But
I don't want to see him on the channels air.
But here's the thing: people watch them on VH1.
And
People
for-
watch them on VH1, and so BET lost out on a lot of that because, for one, it would have looked kind of like coonish if they were on BET. Like, yo, y'all acting
It
wild
looks
over
coonish
here.
on VH1.
Exactly, but here's the thing:
but we're not the only ones watching.
But we're not the only ones watching VH1.
That's
the
why it looks
numbers
especially
the
coonish.
numbers are construed because because everybody's
Especially.
watching. Everybody's watching VH1.
Correct.
So I'm not saying that everybody wasn't watching BAT, but that was a more predominantly black viewership.
No,
right?
that's the thing.
Right.
But
And so on black viewers on a black network, we didn't want to see each other tearing each other down,
Exactly.
right? So we're not going to watch it
No,
there.
we're gonna watch
No.
on the white
But
channel.
everybody's
Still look
watching
just as ignorant.
But
VH1.
everybody's
So
watching-
even if we
What
tuned
are
out,
you guys talking about? That's on there. What
All
is-
of it.
Yeah,
House,
like-
Outland Housewives, all that type of stuff.
Oh, is it,
Oh.
what's the hip
Love
hop
and Hip
one?
Hop.
Love and Hip Hop.
But-
Love and Hip
but-
Hop?
but-
You don't like
yeah.
Love and Hip Hop?
Hell no.
No,
But-
I wouldn't watch it. I would feel worse about watching it if it was on BET than if it was on VH1. But I wouldn't even watch it on VH1.
But even if we
That
all
sounds like
tuned
selective
out, they could
outrage.
still get the numbers because if everybody else watched besides us, they could still. They'll still like look at Fox News. We're talking about Fox News. Look at Fox News and their rating numbers. How many people do you really? How many black people you really think are tuning into Fox News
True.
like they tune in to BET or VH1? Like you know what I'm saying? Like but they're still getting the ratings
Because
and
you
hit.
don't have to watch that channel. You can go and get updates on social media.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they're still getting the ratings
They're still
from
getting the
without the
ratings.
lack of, with the lack of black
Right.
people.
They
That's
don't need
according
us.
to
no,
So-
no,
that.
we
TV
push
ratings?
social media and then people go and watch it.
Yeah, but without the lack of black people, they're getting the ratings.
But
Tucker
that's probably why
Carlson
it's not
show.
on black television. If it was on BET, we wouldn't watch it. It wouldn't be a thing. So
Yeah.
they put it over there so everybody else can watch it and they'll still get the
Of
numbers.
course, which is the point that I'm proving is that if Tucker Carlson could get the ratings, VH1 could get the ratings with Black Dysfunction because people are going to tune into that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what they want to say. They're probably not going to tune into BET. Part white guilt. You're not going to tune into BET to watch Black Dysfunction.
Yeah.
It's part of white guilt. You know what I'm saying?
Part of
Like
black
nobody.
Trey just said that he
Yeah.
wouldn't watch it on BT.
No, but it's too. But white people would not want to have to admit
Yeah.
that they were watching
That
Black
would be-
Dysfunction. That's
Yeah.
one thing that they hate to do. You know what I'm saying? Is admit any parts of being involved in Black
Especially if they
Dysfunction.
going to go look for it. If it just pop up on VH1,
Yeah.
or I was just watching.
I
this
was just
came
watching
on next. When
VH1.
this came
The
on
Country
next?
Music Awards came on right before it,
Wait
and
a
next thing you
second,
know,
this ain't Old
yeah,
Town
like,
Road. What
for
is
real.
this? You know, so
and,
yeah.
and so yeah, no, and that's the thing, and so yeah, we wouldn't want to see that on black networks, but still, I mean,
I don't watch any of it.
I don't get it.
You don't get what?
I mean, like, you guys, reality shows are exactly that. There's black ones, there's white ones.
I hate all of it.
I
But-
mean, obviously we have. She said I hate all.
I just
I
watched
don't like
Potomac. I
reality
watched
shows.
Housewives of Potomac.
Something about black women fighting each other over foolishness
It's
But-
really
retarded.
makes me sick. To
Like
my
I don't
stomach.
like reality shows
I don't
myself, but
care
I'm
which
saying
county it is.
if they're gonna purchase BET, put everything black on there.
But
It's not up to them just because they don't like the,
Yeah, but
this
you
type
wanna
of
do
thing,
real-
but say the audience wouldn't like that.
but everybody doesn't play reality shows. That's why if you pay attention, reality shows are usually on a certain channel. I mean,
Right.
if you really,
Mhm.
if you want to think about
Exactly.
it, True
They pick and
TV,
choose, right?
True TV actually is the main
Yeah.
reality TV
main
show
source. Mhm.
network because they are going to tap into their demographic, like, and that's just what
That's my point.
that's the art of TV.
They
So
wouldn't
so
be able to
BET's
tap
not-
into that demographic if they
well,
don't
plus
do
it's
it.
cheaper too.
no,
to
but
see
you don't
if it
want,
would work.
but when
What
we're
was that?
like.
It's cheaper. Reality TV is a lot cheaper.
It is.
Right.
At the same time, especially when we're going to be on this verge of black excellence, and this is one black people have to understand. There is a spirit that we have to step out of. You know what I'm saying? And that's the spirit of dysfunction.
Okay.
So to say that we want to celebrate black excellence and that we should be celebrating dysfunction too.
No, I don't think that.
But that's what we're, but
I'm
regardless on
saying-
it, when you put it on
I'm not-
TV,
I'm not thinking of
regardless-
like that type
we-
of level. I'm
yes,
simply
but
talking
we
about
have
the
to.
network
but we have to.
when
because
they're sitting down with their board, picking and choosing what to go. To
the
go on
reason
what.
why we have to
on
be
the
thinking about it
network,
I
on
then
this
remember it all
level.
started with there was the white women. All of the housewives. It was that Orange County first.
Yes.
And
I've
so
never watched
we
any of
kind of.
those, so I don't
Oh
know.
yeah. So VH1 started with Orange County
Yeah.
first.
Then they got their way over to
and
Bravo
then they
somehow.
started to and so actually think about it, started with Bravo and then moved, or it
Yeah.
might still be there regardless. But no, it all started with Orange County first, and then it went to New York, and then it finally came
Went
to
to Atlanta.
And within all of that, Love and Basketball came in, and then it all kind of, but it started with, so regardless of race, all of it to me is foolish. But it's you got to remember that's how it started. It started with them, and we kind of took over, and so the ratings went up when it was us. Because again, like I said, especially Coonish, because I'm gonna watch it here, because the black people are on there looking foolish, because we read better, We read each other better. We fight better. We do all of the Cooney things better.
We amp it up.
But
Right.
they dressed up nice and dresses doing it though.
Yeah.
Right. And so what happens? Eventually, New York gets taken down because it's not as it's not as controversial. There's not as much going on. That wasn't New York. It was DC. And then all the other white ones get down. You don't even hear from Orange County for real anymore. Occasionally, I think it still comes on, but like it's not you don't get the Instagram clips.
Yeah.
You don't
But-
get the
but
Facebook clips. You don't get who does get pushed though? Atlanta gets pushed. Zeus gets pushed.
But you know
Well,
why?
Zeus
Zeus
But
is a
but
joke.
you know
Zeus
what? But
makes
hold
me
on.
sick to my stomach.
But
All
this
of
is
it.
why. But this is. But
But
see,
yeah, but-
Atlanta's how Zeus becomes pop.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
and this
yeah.
is this is what I'm trying to. This is what I'm trying to help.
Because
Zeus
This is what I'm trying to help you.
by
But this.
Ray
But hold
J
on.
and them,
But it
right?
doesn't matter. This is what I'm trying to help you
Yeah,
understand.
their own
Really?
little-
Ray J's over Zeus?
But hold on. This is
I
what I'm.
don't
No,
Hold
he
on.
has his own little.
But this is what I
TV
want you.
show
This is
on
what I want you
network
to.
or
This is what I
whatever.
want to try to help you understand.
Okay.
TV has an agenda,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And so if we are at this point to where we are trying to build something in the black community that is bigger than what we've ever done before, there's some practices that we cannot partake in anymore
agree.
because it diminishes us
Right.
going forward.
No one's
So
arguing
what
with
we're
the
saying,
point.
no,
No one's
but
agreeing.
what,
Oh.
she was talking about putting it on BT. Like no,
No, I'm
like,
saying as far as
we
their
don't- we
board,
don't come-
like they're going to consider what to put on TV and not to put on TV. And I'm saying if they're going to put all
We-
of the other genres on
BT
there,
has
why not
struggled.
that one?
BT has struggled with that because if you are going to be showing something that is celebrating black excellence, you can't be setting it back by black dysfunction. And what I'm trying to tell you is now we've gotten to the point to where Atlanta has created places to where black dysfunction is striving.
Well, do you guys really think that there isn't like all of the black anything now is something about slavery? Something about
No, no.
Yes,
well,
what are
well,
they gonna watch?
what I'm saying
then?
is,
There's a lot of
well,
if you don't want to watch
shows.
dysfunction in
we're-
reality
if
shows,
you're
right?
trying to
then
produce
that-
something, if
that
you're trying to
goes with all of the TV show, or not
But
the
life
TV shows,
is a little dysfunctional
movie.
and messy. I
As-
think
as
it's
well
good
as-
to
as much as
show
I
it
hear that-
and show it in a way to do
But
it
then
joyfully
what's
in
As
the
much
right
as I-
way. Because
as-
stuff
black
is
TV
messy.
then is what
But
I'm
as much
trying
as
to
I
say.
hear that,
That's my point.
where we're
Besides
at in
cartoons.
where we're at in information
Yeah.
is that people can put out pieces that aren't dysfunctional, and they can still educate you about dysfunctionality in their own personal lives. We're seeing we have become the generation of people who will sit down and watch iconic people just talk about themselves, right? So if dysfunction is a part of life, they can teach us how to overcome dysfunction just by telling their own personal
So you
story
saying
when we tune
dysfunction
in.
is being
What I'm
glorified.
saying it is because
is,
look at
okay.
no, hold on, time out. How are we producing the Zeus Network? Because Atlanta started to produce women who wanted to be like that. And so now it's easier to create that show because you got women and men
And
who are
there's-
out there trying to portray these images because they think that's how you become famous.
And the
That's how you
men-
become rich. Now we are double down on black dysfunction and we're not creating black excellence. It's being drowned out by the people who are fighting on TV, throwing drinks in each other's faces, N-word this, N-word that, sell drugs this, come from dysfunctionality, and that's what's selling now.
But I got to
Zeus.
just cut off a little bit of this because, I was raised in Georgia. I'm from down south. This is some new stuff. I hear everybody keep saying Atlanta, it started here, it started there.
talking
But
about the
really,
housewives
if
in
you
specific,
get
not
to,
the-
No, we're talking about
but yeah, but I
housewives.
just want to get it out there. Atlanta culture, period, Georgia culture, period. We was raised off of Southern excellence. Like this
Yeah.
new
Right.
stuff, I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what this is.
Absolutely.
Like we
Yeah,
was
no.
raised
I think
to
that's true.
yes,
I
ma'am,
think
no,
that's
ma'am,
true.
tuck your
Absolutely.
shirt
That whole
in, you
Southern
don't sag your
hospitality,
pants.
yes.
So
I think
that's
we're talking about the show
that's
in
a small
specific.
portion
what-
that I think
Absolutely.
people
I've
don't
been
see
at-
the whole big thing.
So
So I
like
was
I've been
raised
at,
in,
I've been to
you know,
Atlanta, like I've been to
show.
Georgia, and I can attest to what you're talking about.
Yeah, because I'm from
But-
South Georgia, like actually raised in it, know it from the fields,
But
you
what
know.
I-
So
what
that's
I-
just a tiny part.
But what
Right,
I'm trying,
right.
what I want people to understand is,
Take the crap off of TV.
and as much
That's
as
it.
that is important to people who are from Georgia, to the rest of the world it doesn't mean anything.
Basically.
Because
That's why
what
we
they
gotta
get to
say it,
see,
though, yeah.
what they get to see is what's portrayed as people who are in Georgia. So when they see that, that's what they associate to it. I'll tell you this. I was in Utah one time.
But is it the people who see it? Because everybody,
It
you
is.
know, if
No,
you
no,
watch
no, no.
TV, you only gonna see
No,
what
no.
they want you to see. You
Of
should already know
course.
it's more.
So I'm gonna tell you.
So do your
I was
due
in-
diligence
I was
and
in,
like dig
not
a little
Utah.
bit
I was in
more.
Idaho. I was in Idaho one time, and I had a white kid ask me if he could touch me because the only time he ever seen black people was on TV. So the thing is that what we see on the airwaves can convince us If
Because
we have
Imagery
not,
Matters. We
no,
did a whole
seriously,
episode on
what we
that.
see on the airways can convince us, or can shape us to see the world in a way that it doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
And so Georgia can be, which I know, I wouldn't even say can be. Georgia is the pinnacle of black excellence.
Yep.
It is. But what they have shown on the airways is that it's the pinnacle of
Or what people
dysfunction.
have shown to focus. That same little boy is smart. He could have Googled black
He-
people.
no,
He
hear
could
me?
have been
No,
Googled
but-
kids are wizards with these phones. If
but-
he wanted to know more about black, he could have been seen
Yes,
like, oh,
but what I'm
I
telling
see
you-
these
That's
black people
true.
on
But I-
TV.
but I just told
Let me
you-
do a little bit more investigation on
But
black
I just
people.
told you that
That's
we've
fair.
conditioned, but I just told you we've conditioned a society of people who don't challenge
But
information
this is a
that
white
they
little
see.
boy you talking about.
I
But
hear you,
also,
but
but
I'm not only just talking about white little boys, because we got black girls out here acting like what they see on Atlanta
Because it's what they
Housewives
want to do.
because that's what
but
they
it's some
see.
acting
Everybody
like
wanna be
wives
a
No,
too. Because I'm
but-
from generation where
Not
the real
everybody.
women we cook, we clean,
No,
we
but it's
take
not-
care,
I'm
we
not
do
saying
this. We
that.
ain't
I'm
about
saying
that,
Amber.
you know.
Yeah,
She
But
said
no,
so it
but
depends
they're-
on what they're looking at.
But the
'cause
little
everybody
girls
can
are
see.
repeating Cardi B.
Yeah.
I don't cook. I don't clean,
Yeah.
but I did it.
You
And
know
I
what
just
I'm
say
saying?
that, and I say that just because, though I hear you say no, but kids can, people can be smart enough, but they're not always.
Yeah.
And I remember, so I was scrolling on TikTok, and a clip of Kanye West came up, and he was saying that once upon a time, when you Googled the Black Panthers, there was all of the actual Black Panther stuff and the movement and what they were doing. And now when you Google Black Panther, all you see is the movie. And I was like, oh, that's actually very interesting.
Yeah.
And so I hear what you're saying is like, well, he could Google it, he could do that. Is it so much more than
Well,
that?
'cause people
But-
do what's easy. That's the easiest
right.
thing to do to
But if
follow
the
behind
first
Cardi
thing I
B. It's
Google,
not
but if the
easy
first
to
thing
cook
I
and clean and
Google,
learn life
as soon as I hit in
skills.
Atlanta, the first thing I Google is Tyler Perry in a dress and the Housewives of ATL. Where is Atlanta? It's in Georgia. Now, this is all I'm seeing. Though it is Googleable, this is still the image that the media has pushed on me.
never
So
heard
back to
that
what he
one.
was saying, because remember we did the Super Bowl thing, and he was
Yeah.
going on about how imagery matters. And I was behind it, because you're right. And so, yes, things are Googleable. And yes, there could be, you could be smarter than that. But if this is what I'm constantly fed, and as black women, we're always given that whole angry black woman trope. Why? Because this is what you guys are constantly feeding the narrative. This is the narrative you guys are constantly putting up in front of it. So though I can Google black women and are they really mean? Well, if this is all I see,
Because that's
At-
easy.
at one
because
point-
it's easy.
at
Because
one
why
point-
would I Google for more information? Most people don't want to dig further
And that's
for the
the
At one-
extra.
at one
A lot-
point,
I don't
so-
disagree with
everybody's
that.
lazy.
That is the
That's
At
problem.
one
the
No,
point-
you're
problem.
right.
People have gotten lazy.
And
But
it's about
also
the
this is where
information
we're
that you
at.
get, because
We can't hope. We can't move in hopes and wishes, and we should. We have to move with what is.
Because
And what
in
is people are lazy.
in
aren't
St.
doing
Louis,
the digging work.
Missouri, and neighboring cities, at one point they had a huge problem with racial profiling. But when they really dug down deep, what they realized is that when they brought the recruits in and police academy, they used to show the movie Colors, right? And so the imagery of black people and gangbanging
It's already
was already burned into. And I have personal experience. I went there. I ain't never been in the gang in my life. They've seen my ID and seen I was from California. They almost stripped me butt naked looking for gang tattoos. They stripped the car down looking for guns. They did everything in their power. They went to the hotel and tried to get us kicked out. They did everything in their power because in their mind, they were trying. It didn't have anything to do with they didn't experience black people. The information that they were given, they took
mystery
to
that
be
puts
true
out.
because of where they got it from. And so the thing is, what we have to realize is that some people hold the value of entertainment and TV higher than you may. Higher than some of us may. They take the integrity of it and run with it. You see a movie and the number is 555, 55555. Somebody's going home and they're dialing that number trying to talk to the character on them. No, it's the reality.
Gotcha, yeah.
I put Prince had 777-9311. Do you know how many times I called that number in a different area code just to see what would happen? Because the power of entertainment and media does have that effect on people. And so when you have a group of people who are already struggling for financial equity, when they're struggling on how do I get to a point of financial security and generational wealth, right? What we have seen so far is rapper, actor, athlete, and now buffoon. Because
Drug
that's
dealer.
what they do. No, seriously, because that's all that's getting paid. That's all that's getting paid.
And the
The,
drug dealers.
intellectual people aren't being shared in a lot of spaces.
No,
The
he's
people who ain't
not
got
wrong.
no sense ain't being shared in a lot of places. They're not making the money because they make too much sense. And I worked in a place where they said, you know what, the job ain't to make sense. It's about to get the job done. I don't care if it makes sense. Just get it done.
Yeah.
And we understood. We used to walk around there joking. My job ain't to make sense.
No,
Just
that's
get it
good.
done. And so, what makes sense don't make dollars. And
Yeah.
and a lot of people operate by that theology.
If you look at why Zeus is more popular, they have
of
that
the
certain
function.
type of content,
Yep.
and they keep putting more sugar in the Kool-Aid, and they
Keep eating it.
people keep tasting like, this is good. They have another show coming with the Bad Boys. They have Orlando Brown. They have Orlando Brown on there, the dude from the Raven
Raven.
show.
Oh yeah.
Bobby Smurda.
They
How hot is Bobby Smurda now? Not really.
Right.
Why-
Well, actually,
but-
me and my boyfriend were just talking about
but-
Bobby Smurda
Why
because
is Bobby
but-
Smurda on there?
Because-
Hold on,
he got
time
it-
out.
no,
When he
they
got
did
this
it.
record deal,
Because when he got out, he wasn't cutting up anymore. Now
but
that
when he
can
got his
swear,
record deal,
so he's not
there was
hot
a
anymore.
video that was aired of him jumping on top of tables, acting like a goddamn buffoon because they said that's what he needed to do to get the record deal. And you seen everything that he did from there and what happened to him. Ever since he's been sober and all that, you don't hear much about him. He's done the interviews, he's done all that, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, class with people. But because he's no longer leaning into that rhetoric, there's not a space for body murder in media to people.
I look
right?
at Christian Rock and the boy Blueface.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
but hear me. Nobody was checking for Blueface for real. I know they had a couple of hits from back in the
No.
day, but nobody was checking for him.
was
for real.
trash.
So now he right. So then he
Very
gets with
much
this
so.
chick
I
who's
agree.
on this show, and she's cutting up and she's doing all the extra stuff. Now all of a sudden he's randomly relevant again, and she's all of a sudden randomly relevant again.
When has a
Not
toothless
again, but-
person like that been relevant?
Come
Yeah.
on, but all of a sudden she is. No, I blame her. And
People
and
ain't
it's
calling her
crazy.
Snaggletooth. Like,
And so
them
we
people
say
always
that
like,
this
oh,
stuff don't matter,
Snaggletooth,
but
not
we
to
make
hate.
these
You know what
people
I'm saying?
famous all
I don't
the
want
time.
no mad
Look at-
rapper smacking me.
Look at Kim Kardashian. I had a joke one time. I said, no, she's famous because two nobodies slept with each other, and now all of a sudden they're somebodies. And this is what happened.
Well, we
She all of
actually
a
knew
sudden
who
is
Ray
now-
J was.
Kind of. I mean, he was Brandy's brother.
Yeah.
But again, two nobodies had sex on a camera, and now they both
Yeah,
somehow
that's
become
equal
relevant, and now
positive.
she even surpasses him.
We
in
haven't seen him
popularity.
before. We ain't
Right.
seen her, but we
Right,
have seen
but now,
him before.
but now she's all of a sudden has passed him in popularity.
and
Think
money.
about
it.
And money.
That's
and
true.
money.
And
He's on there trying to, this is Raycon's earbuds. And she don't even have to do
Right.
none of that.
These
You know
glasses
what I'm
don't
saying?
break. I don't
She don't even
care.
got to do none of that.
I mean, so it's just.
we can get out of here.
Oh, we didn't even play the game.
Huh? Oh no, we about to play the game. We'll do one. I'm just gonna do one round.
Come on.
And it'll take a
You
couple
got, you got
minutes.
10 minutes of my time.
But
It's
thank y'all
6:50?
so much for tuning in to Black People Podcast. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Do we have a views on time?